What is a complete human? Is it a cover model? Is it a science geek? Is it a fitness expert? Or all of the above and more? Janna and Evan are crusaders that walk the earth looking at today's issues that touch our hearts and minds. The honest and hopeful outlook on the advancement of today's society. The science behind the decay of human relationships. The necessary preparations for future generations. Join us as we look deep inside ourselves and embark on a journey into becoming a complete human.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Complete Human Podcast with your host,
Janna Breslin.
And Evan DeMarco. Today, we are talking about the business of relationships.
Yes. This is a special one. It feels very close to my heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We constantly get questions. You know, I hate that. But yes, this is one of those things we actually do constantly get questions on.
Which is what? What's the question?
It's always about our relationship.
Yeah, people want to know.
People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
So what we thought, everything from how do we meet, how do we run a business together, what does the whole relationship look like? And, we're not overtly publical. We're not overtly public, but we're not exactly private either.
Yeah.
So we thought we would take this opportunity to really discuss our business as we hope to inspire other entrepreneurs, as well as, kind of the personal nature of our business and how do we balance the two of those. Especially in the age of COVID, where we haven't been able to really travel. We've been locked in Sacramento, California.
We've been traveling a bit.
Oh,
we do a good job.
We balance.
We do.
Yeah. Cool. So we took some questions from the audience, and we're just going to kind of go through those and talk through them, and hopefully you guys get some value out of this, again, from the relationship side, from the entrepreneurial side, and hopefully you just get a laugh or two because I'm sure we'll be chuckling along the way.
Absolutely.
So question one is, how did you and Janna meet?
We met a couple years ago, and you were working with a supplement company. Mm-hmm. I was still doing, influencering.
I love how you turned that into a verb.
Yeah, I did. I was still doing that sort of stuff, and then I think you reached out at that time, or the company reached out, and, I started working with the company that you were doing marketing for. Mm-hmm. And that's how we, I guess, got introduced to each other.
Yep.
So we kind of been working with each other from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the start.
Yeah. And then, just to expand on that one is that, shortly after that, maybe not shortly, about 6 to 7 months after that, we decided to go to Costa Rica. I brought a bunch of influencers down to support XPT, Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese. And I loved that event. It was really a fascinating event, just to see those two in their work in personal relationship, just to see the type of experience that they created, to be in Costa Rica with some amazing people doing some of the craziest shit I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I think one of the fun parts about that was just getting to know you. And it was kind of funny. It's a health and wellness retreat. But yet you and I shut the bar down every single night. and by that, I think it was like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I got to know you. I think we got to know each other, and it was that was a blast.
It was super. It was one of the best trips ever.
Yeah.
Love Costa Rica, and actually Laird and Gabby are such a great example of doing business and also relationship with. And I think it was really awesome to be with them too at that time. I mean, obviously we were there for work at that time, but it's so nice to look back and view them as almost examples of how to run a health and wellness company as a couple.
Yeah. Absolutely. So then that leads into the question of what is the story behind Complete Human?
Well, it started off as Life to the Max, if you OG or people remember back in the day, if anyone cared at that point. So it was a podcast.
It was a podcast.
Yeah.
And it began in Peru.
Yeah, we went to Peru with Whitney Johns, our buddy, and had such a great time. And after Evan and I are just, frolicking through the mountains of Peru and doing ayahuasca and meeting people and just, so many amazing experiences there. And also recognizing just what other, that's a third world country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, eye-opening and recognition that happen when you go to places like that. And we got really inspired to just tell stories about, things that are happening in the world, who is making the world a better place. And that's originally kind of how it started.
Yeah, and it was funny because we went from there and then came back to the States, and it was 10 days later that we were at the Spartan World Championships in Tahoe.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that we decided, like, let's do a podcast, call it Life to the Max. It'll be, inspiring a better world. And so, we basically, we had this massive house with like Whitney and Ingrid and I don't know. We had so many people there.
Mo was there.
Brian
Yeah.
was there. It was such a great time. But you and I podcasted for the first time with Dr. Laura and Chase Tuning and some of the amazing people in this space. And that was the origin story of this, was our desire that came out of, Costa Rica and then ultimately Peru to educate and inspire healthier people for a healthier planet. Now that mission has evolved a little bit over
Yes.
time.
Yes.
But that was the origin story. It was really kind of our symbiotic desire to do something of value in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Like Complete Human has definitely evolved. Like now we've got supplements, we've got cryo tubs. There's other buckets of the company that we're developing as we speak. And it's really exciting stuff. So we're very invested in each other.
Yes. Which then brings the question, what sparked the intimate relationship?
Evan and I have said this from the beginning, but we just feel like we have known each other before this lifetime. It's hard to explain, but we have it's been very magnetic. And that's how I've always looked at our relationship, is just, very magnetic. And it's easy with you, and it's just been amazing. It truly is. So I don't know, that it's what sparked it. It was just there. It was clear. It was obvious. Couldn't really hide from it.
Yep. Although we did for a while, and I think that's, that was the point of that, is we did, we started down this business venture, and then, ultimately, you were in a relationship, you got divorced, and then you came up to Sacramento to work, and then you never left.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get rid of you since.
I know exactly. I know I got my own place in San Diego after I filed, and I had my own place for like 2 months or something, and then COVID happened. This was literally at the exact beginning of 2020. COVID happened. I came up here to Sacramento for work. We had something going on. I wasn't sure. But literally like weeks later, I was only supposed to be here for a couple of days, but I just never left. And I just, we were like, wow, we can cohabitate together. We get along well. It's fun to be around you every day. This is easy, right? It was nice. It was really nice. And so
nice.
that's kind of when, decided to officially make the move up here.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. 2 years later.
Yes.
So let's, we get requests all the time. Talk a little bit more about the intimate nature of your relationship. I don't necessarily know if we have to go deep into that. But I do want to answer the question of, how do you make your business and personal relationship work? This is a tricky one, right? Because I've never been in business with anyone I've been in a relationship with. And so we live together, we work together.
Yeah.
And granted, we've got a lot of space here, but how do you balance that? How do you make that work? And so I'd like to toss that question to you first.
Well, many people don't know this, but my upbringing, my parents have been in business together for 35 years. They work with each other every single day. They go to the office at the same hours. They come home at the same time. Like, they are never apart. And so that's actually something very familiar to me. So how do we make it work? It's just, we just do. I don't know. Every day is not easy. We could, today we had a rough start in our morning, right? But not every day is easy. We butt heads sometimes. It's not every day is perfect. But our commitment to each other and our commitment to our mission as a couple, as a business, as individuals, we're very committed to that. And, we dedicate the time and the effort, and we try.
I think that's one of the big things that I love about our relationship is the idea that the grass is greener where you water it. And so often and I think we could even speak to this, right, is that when things get rough, it's easy to be like, well, things are going to be better over there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily the case, because oftentimes the baggage, that we had in one relationship will follow us to the next relationship if we don't deal with that. So one of the things that I'm really proud of in this relationship is how much we work at it. As you said, it's not always easy. It's building a business in the age of COVID, being stuck in one place, at least for the first year while everybody was freaked out to even go to the grocery store, let alone get on a plane. But yeah, it's been fun to build, and in that building to, I always love the thing is true love is nurturing someone else's spiritual and emotional growth. So it's like to nurture that in you, knowing that you nurture that in me, is we get to come together as two complete individuals working on ourselves, working on our relationship, working on a business, and not just one business, but 72.
Many.
Many.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you balance it?
I don't. I drink large quantities of coffee. What I've learned in this whole process is to be okay with things not being perfect. And that's not just in the relationship. That's in my own life. That's in business. That's in the world. I remember prior to COVID, if I had to change like travel plans, or if travel plans got canceled, or if an event got canceled, it'd drive me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're just like, every time I book a flight, there's a 50-50 shot I'm not going to get on it, and I'm okay with that. Part of this whole process in being with you and building this relationship with you and building this business with you is learning to be so comfortable with uncertainty that it doesn't matter, right? Like, we're in it together, and in that, it's just fun. Like, yeah, things are stressful, things can be difficult, but when we're aligned and we're working towards the same thing together, it's like, all right, that's how it is. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't get to get on a plane this week. We'll frolic naked in the backyard.
Sometimes that might be even better.
Yeah. And that's only for vitamin D.
Only. Nothing else. Nothing else. Another question is, what boundaries do we set with business and personal?
Never let the other person see you pee.
Never?
Never.
No. Evan doesn't like to share.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen, sound off on this one. Please let me know if you're with me or against me. But I think that there's kind of like, there's intimacy and then there's too much comfort with someone. Like, there's nothing sexy about that. Now, granted, I know that there's probably a website where people want to see that type of stuff.
Right.
But that's not a website that I'm going to go to.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that. I like that separation. I like that line. I like a closed bathroom door.
So that is your solution with the boundaries.
There might be there might be
know.
another. It's nurturing intimacy. But as far as boundaries go, I think that the one that we've done, we've been really good at is like, if there's a problem, it's calling a timeout and saying, hey, I need to go for a walk. I need to go spend some time by myself, and recognizing that, we don't have to solve all of the world's problems today or that moment. It's giving each other the space to process and to grow. I think, I think boundaries, that's a really good question. I haven't really thought of that, but what are yours?
Well, I also think about it in the context of balancing work and just outside of work life, right? I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We live and breathe this. We wake up thinking about work. We go to bed thinking about work. We dream about work. It's just like, we're very excited and dedicated to all this. And so I feel like sometimes it is hard to have that separation between work and personal, right? Even when we go out to dinner, like if we go on a date or something, like we're both still excited to talk about work. And sometimes I feel like we almost need to make more of a separation between, like, just separating those things out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's as two people doing business together and doing an entrepreneurial, adventure basically together, it is sometimes challenging to completely separate things out. But that's the thing. If you really like what you do and if you like who you're doing it with, it's not the worst thing.
I like doing it with you.
Good. I like doing it with you too.
Good. Okay. That's, like I said, it's boundaries are always a weird thing. I think one of the other things that has been very exciting about our relationship is the communication. The ability to say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's work through this. One of the things that I found in previous relationships is I was always so afraid to not be myself because I was afraid that person wouldn't like me. And so I was always more placating than I was authentically being myself. And in that, I lost myself to a lot of relationships. And oftentimes I came across as a very inauthentic version of myself. And so in this relationship, it's been really exciting to be able to be like, this is it. This is how I'm feeling. Like, I don't want to see you pee. And know that that's, whether or not you agree with me, you accept me. And versus whether or not I agree with you, I accept you for who you are. And there's a liberating but yet very congealing element to that type of communication.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree. This is definitely the most freeing relationship I've ever been in. And also safe in many ways, but safe just to talk about like what's really happening in your minds or our feelings or whatever. And I feel like having that safe space to be able to have that with someone really allows for a deepening of intimacy and almost like I don't know, it makes it easier. It makes it easier to do business and life with someone when you have that safety and that comfort to do so.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice.
How do you overcome challenges?
How do I overcome challenges within
the relationship?
Well, I mean, I told myself after my divorce, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, if I'm feeling something, if I have an insecurity, if I have whatever, a thought, some uncomfortable thing going on, I make myself bring it up when before I would shove it in, I'd stuff it down, I wouldn't say anything. So overcoming challenges in our relationship and for me is really just going there, is just doing the challenge, like not ignoring it, not shutting it down, going there and recognizing that we're in a safe place and we're in a safe relationship to, it's okay. It's okay to feel or think certain things. And if you want to talk about it with someone, you can. And if you're in the right relationship, that will be accepted and you won't be shut down. So, that's how I do it.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. It's open lines of communication, but it's also recognizing that there are things that are beyond our control. And one of the things that I remember early on in being in a relationship with you was, obviously, you're a moderately attractive human being on Instagram, and you get a lot of dick pics.
I'm just thinking, I haven't gotten one in a long
That's
time.
not a solicitation, boys and girls. Or girls, that would be weird. Boys.
Now that I'm like thinking, no, it's actually been like really, really long time.
You generate a lot of interest from members of the opposite sex. And so, that was one of those things where it was like, it wasn't an insecurity, but it was, how do I feel about, someone, people constantly reaching out to you, men constantly reaching out to you. Can I take you out? Can I buy you whatever? I mean, and I mean, there's a weird element of social media anyway, and I think that that's probably a much bigger podcast, is how do people navigate a relationship within social media? But that was one that was a challenge for me, and I really appreciated the way that we both communicated about the challenges of social media in a relationship. And it's not like it's a one and done conversation. It's the ability to okay, well, I'm feeling something. Let's talk about it again. And it's not that we have to rehash the same thing again and again and again. It's just, it's those subtle, it just doesn't sit well, with me. It's like, why is John sending you a wiener pic again? It's, that's 3 times this week. 2 is the max.
2.
John, are you listening?
0 is the max.
But, challenges are the one thing that I actually look forward to overcoming. And in past relationships, I always looked at relationships in the context of fights were bad. And not that we fight, but challenges are opportunities for growth. We go into the gym, stress our muscles so they grow back bigger. We get in a cryo tub and stress ourselves so that we're more resilient. So what's to think that same practice wouldn't apply to any relationship, personal or professional? The more that we stress it in a healthy way, the stronger it becomes. So I look forward to challenges now. I actually look forward to those moments of like, we don't have an answer. Let's figure this out. Let's roll up our sleeves and, get naked and figure it out together. That's how we do board meetings, right, ladies and gentlemen.
Just going to throw that in there. I love it. So another question we have here. What do you love about your relationship and what makes it unique? People from our team put these together, you guys. So that's how we have these questions.
What do I love? I love everything about our relationship. It's easy, but yet it challenges me to be a better person. I show up every day I try to show up every day as a better version of myself than the day before. I kind of look at it, that 1% improvement. Can I be 1% better today than I was yesterday? And you make me want to do that as your business partner, as your person, as, whatever I'm called. What am I called? I don't know. Can I get a business card?
You're my partner in all things.
Partner in all things. Is that unique, or is there anything unique about that? Sadly, I think that there is something unique about that. Not completely, but when we look at divorce rates, you and I have both been divorced. When we look at the number of people we know that have had failed marriages or failed relationships, I think one of the things is that there's an expectation versus reality. And maybe it's because we've both been divorced. Maybe it's because we've both had the shit kicked out of us in relationships, that we're able to come to this with a better expectation. And in that, it's kind of lowering our expectations, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to work through problems, knowing that it's okay to disagree. So yeah, I think that sadly that's unique, but it shouldn't be in the realm of relationships.
Right. Relate too much on, past issues.
It's like, why does everybody strive for happily ever after? What happens in the journey, right? Like, you get married and they lived happily ever after. I want to know about the journey. And maybe Hollywood has conditioned us in the wrong way, but the journey is the fun part. That's the juicy stuff, right? Like, that's the stuff that we go through on a day in and day. It's like, yeah, we could go to Mexico and frolic around every single week, or we could travel all the time, but what about the moments in between, the real intimacy when we're not planning the next trip or planning the next podcast or doing something busy where it's just the two of us in a room and we're able to really talk as human beings and get to know each other. And one of the things that I love about you is I learn something new about you every single day. And I love that. I look forward to those moments.
Yeah, that is one thing about you and about our relationship. I am always so interested in what you have to say, and I love talking with you. I love our conversations. Like, even if it doesn't matter what it's about. It's just I love to just have that with you and just to talk, whatever it is. It's, whether it's the most exciting thing or not, it doesn't matter. It's always still like that for me.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope it stays that way.
Yes.
Because the second that it's not that way, then you have to leave.
This is my house now.
True.
Just kidding. So one question, we're kind of moving into like the more business part, I guess, but we have a question here. What advice do you have for couples or friends that want to start a business together? Which I think is a really great question.
Don't.
Don't?
No, I'm kidding. I've started a lot of businesses, and I've been successful at some. I failed at a lot. And the ones that I failed at have always been based off of unrealistic expectations. If you're going to start a business with friends, with family, with an intimate partner, with whoever, right? You need to go in it with a legitimate business plan and a legitimate what happens when the shit falls apart plan.
Uh-huh. And we've even said this with marriage, right? Before you get married, have that plan too.
Have that plan, right? And again, I jokingly have always said, like, marriage, we should change marriage to like relationship leases. I'm going to lease you for 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, if I like you, then I can buy you.
You make it seem like it's a one-sided thing. Both sides have the okay.
Well, the car doesn't get to choose the driver.
At the end of the 3 years, come together and.
Or I can just trade you in for a younger model.
Naturally, of course. Surprise.
Total dude thing to say. Sorry, that was a douchey thing to say. But I think relationships, personal or professional, need to have we need to go into it not expecting that that we're going to be a Fortune 100 company or a Fortune 100 relationship, and it's understanding the dynamics of those that lead to success. We don't plan for failure, But, you hope for the best, you still plan for the worst. And in business, you need to know that, right? If you're starting a business with your significant other and it's like, well, we need $100,000 to start this business. You're going to put in 50. I'm going to put in 50. Here's what we're going to work. Here are the goals that we're going to work towards. Here are the KPIs that we're going to work towards. How do you measure success? And one of the things that have really been fun for us is how do we measure success in our relationship on the personal side as well as the business.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we actually like to do on a consistent basis is we sit down and we do relationship goals.
Mm-hmm. Every couple months or so, we'll do 6-month goals basically.
Yeah. What do we want to accomplish as a couple? How are we using the relationship to improve ourselves as individuals, to improve each other's lives, and to improve the relationship as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't want to look at our relationship on the personal side as a business, but in kind of looking at that with KPIs, then it's like, well, now we're working towards something. And
Right.
let's say we get there, we're like, okay, now that we've done this, do we need to pivot? Does the relationship need to go in a different way? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And how do we facilitate those?
Well, it's a recalibration, right? And then it's a very nice way to get two people together every couple months or every year or so and discuss these things, because here's the reality of it, right? People change and evolve and have different wants and desires over time, right? We are constantly evolving and moving in every way, right? So that and those are perfect opportunities to talk about, what your wants and desires are in any way of life. And it's a really nice way to recalibrate the relationship and work on those things together. And I think that's actually a really, really good thing for couples, even if you're not in business together, to do.
Totally.